introducing firstly in the red corner. He is wearing the red trunks, and as a professional from 47 contests, he brings to the ring of 32 wins with 13 losses and 2 draws. 17 of his wins coming by way of knockouts. He weighed in at 125 pounds and 10 ounces, or 8 stone and 13 pounds and 10 ounces. And he enters the ring as the former European and WBO featherweight champion of the world. And tonight, the challenger for the title is the pride of Wales from Cardiff, Steve Robinson. And his apparent cross-ring in the blue corner. He is wearing the white trunks, and he brings to the ring an undefeated professional record of 24 wins from 24 contests, 10 wins coming inside the scheduled distance. He weighed in at 125 pounds and 6 ounces, or 8 stone and 13 pounds and 6 ounces. And he comes to the ring as the former undefeated WBU Super Bantamweight champion, and he is the current WBU Featherweight champion of the world, and defending his title for the 6th time from Johannesburg in South Africa, where he is known as Mr. Shy Guy, Cassius Baloyi. Your referee, Mr. Mickey Van, will now give his final instructions to both boxers.
There you go, then it's our main event. Cassius Baloyi making the 6th defence of his WBU featherweight crown in action here against the Welsh wrestler himself, Steve Robinson. Now, Robinson's last fight was, I'm afraid to say for Steve, a bit of a shutout. He was beaten very overwhelmingly by Istvan Kovacs, the leading contender for the WBO championship, on points over 12 rounds. And prior to that, beaten in 11 rounds by the very useful Juan Ramirez for the WBO Intercontinental title.
Of the world.
So Simon Goodall then, our MC, sets the scene for these two lads. Cassius Baloyi, of course, unbeaten in 24, 13 knockouts. And he's a very useful handful. He's a former Super Bantamweight champion of the WBU. Now, of course, the featherweight title holder, making the 6th defence. And I'll tell you something, I've seen Baloyi on several occasions, and he's very useful, very quick puncher, very fluid mover. And Stevie Robinson very much on the slide these days, and I hate to use that term for Steve, but when there's it does come a point, of course, in most fighters' lives when they just pop over the wrong side of the hill, and I'm afraid that seems to be the case for Steve here. And the first 3 years, in fact, of his career were spent as a journeyman boxer, travelling here, there and everywhere, picking up fights and picking up wins, and of course the odd loss on the way. But then, of course, his big moment came when he fought John Davison as a stand-in opponent, I think 3 days' notice, for the WBO championship, the featherweight title, back in 1993. And he never looked back after that. He won the title, of course lost it in his 8th defence against Nassim Hamed. But a thriving reign for Robinson whilst he was WBO champion, and now setting his sights, of course, on becoming the WBU title holder. Nice right over the top then from Robbo. And Steve's been a pro now for over 10 years, 1989 in fact. Baloyi since 1994. Steve Robinson, 31 years of age, that's 5 years older than the 26-year-old Baloyi, who comes from Johannesburg, South Africa. And decent start this from Robinson, who looks absolutely ripped at the weight, not a single spare ounce of flesh on him. And of course there comes a point in lots of fighters' lives as well when they thrive a step up in weight, and Robinson looks like he's trying exceptionally hard to make the 9-stone weight limit for this one. As I say, not a spare ounce of flesh on that body. And it does get harder, of course, as you get older to make the weight. And Steve really has had an illustrious career when you consider his humble beginnings. Former Welsh champion. Offset in his first defence, believe it or not, to Neil Haddock, who go on to become British champion. And also a WBB champion, which is the World Boxing Board title. He won that. And beat Paul Harvey, in fact, back in 1993 for that championship. Then, of course, gave it up as soon as he got the shout for the WBO crown. Not a bad start this for Robinson. But when Baloyi gets into his stride, you'll see a pretty decent fighter. And I've got no problems giving Robinson, in fact, a share of this opening round. It's been a pretty decent start for him, although Baloyi finishing this first round well. Yes, I go evens on that. So there's Cassius then, first became champion in 1996, beat Frankie Toledo on points over 12 rounds to become the WBU title holder. And he's had some pretty decent opponents against him as well as we come out for this second round. He fought a couple of times in Britain, fought Peter Judson up in Scotland, won on points over 6. Peter Harris he beat as well on his second visit. Nice uppercut from Baloyi, well measured. A couple of decent names there. Beat Sergio Liendo, Said Lawal, Brian Carr and Hector Lizarraga in defence of this WBU championship. Baloyi, that is. But back to Robinson, he's a much more interesting career path when you think of it. After he lost his World Boxing Organisation title, he was beaten by Billy Hardy on points over 12 for the European. Oops-a-daisy. Left hook from Robinson, down goes Baloyi, and I'll tell you something, he doesn't look too well. Bit shaky on the legs here. Mickey Van, our referee, giving him the mandatory 8 count, but that was a decent punch from Robinson. Good left hook, and I'll tell you something, Baloyi's still a bit wobbly on those pins. And Steve Robinson now piling on the pressure here in round 2. Well, that's a bit of a shock, to be honest with you. Didn't expect that, but Robinson lost none of his fire. Big round this for Robinson. Another left hook again. Takes it right though. And Robinson there very sensibly, just grabbing hold of the champion just for a moment to try and reclaim his senses. Well, Baloyi looks over that bad spell now. Bit of damage around Robinson's left eye, just on the cheek in fact. And Baloyi really is a very decent fighter. Well, tagging Robinson there with a good right, and again. And these two made for each other, aren't they? Good blend of styles. First time I ever saw Steve Robinson, by the way, in a boxing ring was in Cardiff at the Splot Leisure Centre, and he did an exhibition of all things. He just turned professional. A decent comeback now, this from Baloyi. And there we get, he's hit the deck in this round, so that's a point automatically to Robinson. But that's a 10-10 round, I think. Can't give that to Robinson by 10-8 by any means. So, still all square with 2 gone. That's my reckoning. Here back to Robinson, as I say, he lost to Billy Hardy for the European title. And then got back into the swing of things, becoming the WBO Intercontinental Champion. And then, of course, that's the left hook that put Baloyi on the floor.
Round 3.
And then, of course, did win the European Championship proper and lost the title in his third defence to Istvan Kovacs, who is a very useful little box fighter, as he proved, beating Robinson last time out. So anyway, back to this one. Cassius Baloyi in the white, on the floor from a left hook in round 2. Up he got, battled the back very strongly, and well, he may have won the round, although having said that, no, I'm going to give the round to Robinson. I'm just going to have a little rethink on my score there. So 2019 then to Steve Robinson with 2 gone. And of course a very heartening experience that to put Baloyi over with the left hook to the chin. He'll be looking for that again, I'm sure. Oh, nice uppercut. Good shot then. And Cassius, by the way, is Baloyi's real first name. And with a name like that, you couldn't help but be a boxer, really. Nice, precise punching these from Baloyi. Robinson backs off for the first time, although that's not always a bad sign. Good speed of punch from the champion, good technique as well. But Robinson's been one of our most exciting champions of recent times, undoubtedly. Very good to watch, very attractive fighter. And you've really got to nail into the floor to beat him. He's one of those guys that just won't quit. Once again, nice technique there for both men. And I tell you what, if you're an aspiring boxer, watch these two lads, how to throw a body shot and an uppercut on the inside. And then, of course, switch back to a full array of punches at long range. It's good to watch. And Baloyi, they're not just content poking out the left hand, he has to make it land. And if you look, he's actually looking for the target for that left hand to get to. Doesn't just flick it out needlessly, but that's another round, I think, for Baloyi, although a good effort there for Robinson. Level for me, 29 each. Here we go then for round 4 of this WBU Featherweight Championship. Steve Robinson from Wales, from Cardiff in fact, in the red trunks against the champion Cassius Baloyi, making the 6th defence of his championship. A former super bantamweight WBU champion. He made 3 successful defences of that type before moving up in weight. One knockdown, of course, scored so far. That by Robinson in the 2nd round. And of course, you've got to wonder how often Robinson can keep going to the well. He's never disappointed. The fight, of course, against Kovacs, well, Kovacs a little bit on the special side, no doubt about that. I've always liked him ever since 1992, when he should have got the Val Barker Award in the Barcelona Olympics. He should have got it also in Atlanta, but didn't. But a very decent, consummate professional. So, you know, difficult to read too much into that loss, really, for Steve Robinson. But the one previous to that against Ramirez, that was reasonably damaging because he actually fought very, very well in that one before being overcome in round 11. So you'd never write Robinson off, but as I say, there's got to come a time when Father Time knocks a bit too loudly on the door, and you've got to answer him. Robinson now using these body punches to try and slow Baloyi down. And that's a lovely left hook to the chin as well. And that's really what Steve's looking for. Looking to get Baloyi to drop those hands and protect the body and then leave his chin vulnerable. So a good spell then for Steve. And he really is very experienced, Steve Robinson. 47 fights under his belt. He's won 32 of them, lost 13, and most of those defeats, of course, were in the first 3 years of his career. Drawn 2 and knocked out 17 opponents. Good form. Fought at a high level consistently than Baloyi, who's of course unbeaten in 24 pro fights with 13 knockouts to his credit. And Robinson, of course, has resisted that move up to super featherweight, which might have suited him. As I say, he looks absolutely tight as a drum here at the featherweight limit. Well, I'll tell you something, I've got a feeling that Robinson might have nicked that one. He made a very good start, kept Baloyi under constant pressure.
Second round, round 5.
Round 5 then, and I've just got Robinson a point in front now, 39-38. Baloyi, though, looks awfully threatening. He's one of these guys that you know he's got an awful lot of ability. He's got potent punching power. He takes a whack as well, despite that second round knockdown. Well, holding and hitting, yes, from Baloyi there. Referee Mickey Van, a former professional lightweight. His grandfather, by the way, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again, was the manager and promoter of the Elephant Man. And his father was a very famous knife thrower. That's our referee Mickey Van. Baloyi using this round here now just to set back behind his left hand and try and calm things down a wee bit, just take the pace out of the fight, which will suit him a bit better than it will Robinson. Steve Robinson, of course, likes to feel the leather against his opponent, likes to feel the knuckles with the gloves, and that's what Baloyi's done here. Very sensible ploy there by Cassius, just, as I say, taking the heat out of the situation, letting Robinson cool himself down, but it's a positive rather than negative ploy if you think about it. Steve, of course, will not be enjoying this drop in pace. It was in his interest to keep things hot. And Steve, as I said, is really one of those guys that likes to feel the punch land, which sets him up for another one, and Baloyi knows that, of course, by now. Well, there's the end of a very interesting round there. Very interesting. I've got a feeling that for all Baloyi's artistry there in that round, I've got a feeling that Robinson might just be worth a share of that. Into round 6, and I've got Robinson still a point in front at 49-48. So let's just see what tactics are going to be employed here. Well, this is the quietest round we've had so far. Both men trying to assert their authority on this match in very different ways. Baloyi almost saying to Robinson, you can almost hear him saying, you know, I'm going to fight this one at my pace. If you want to punch up, go look somewhere else. And Robinson, of course, trying to draw Baloyi in to the exchanges, but he won't have it unless it suits him. And see, that's what I mean. Robinson now has lost concentration in this one. So that tactic of Baloyi's to try and steal the pace has worked a treat. Steve Robinson's concentration just been snapped there. Whether he can regain it again, of course, is another matter. Of course, this is the kind of fight that Istvan Kovacs fought. He just wouldn't let Robinson near him. And every time he came in, he got punished. Once again, nice spell here. Dynamic work there from Baloyi. But you've got to be a real tough guy, real good puncher to put Robinson on the floor. Got some nice uppercuts there from Cassius Baloyi, the South African. So Steve Robinson, then one of Britain's most successful champions, and yeah, a bit of damage here around the face of Ebbw Vale. Just taking a look at that, getting the gum shield washed first and replaced. As Di Gardner, Robinson's manager. Just a touch of damage there on the left cheek, I think, and that's a good round for Baloyi. Not a particularly fantastic round, but he won it.
Corner, 10 seconds. Seconds out. Round 7.
So the halfway point, round 7, 6 gone, 6 to go. My scorecard reads 58 points each. And I've got a feeling Robinson's done pretty well to keep it this close for so long. But well, Baloyi possibly showed in the previous round how he's going to win this. Just to box to his own agenda. And once again there, a touch of loss of concentration for Robinson, which is unlike him. Now that's a decent jab from Cassius, and as I say, it's the kind of fighter that doesn't waste too many left hands. When he throws them, he tends to make them land. He finds a way through with it. Although having said that, he's missed with more than a handful so far in the 7th round. Well, Stevie Robinson, they're having a good go, but not too many of those punches finding the target. And there's passion amongst the audience, isn't there? Once again, nice work here by the champion. And it's strange, isn't it, how the pace has changed dramatically since the first bell, when it was all Robinson. But now, Baloyi just stealing his thunder. Wins that round as well, in my opinion. Cassius, 68-67 now in Baloyi's favourite.
Seconds out. Round 8.
Yep, into round 8. And it's been a real to and fro match, this one, with Robinson getting the best of the early rounds, but Baloyi coming back. And the best way I could put it really is to say he's nicked the wind of Steve Robinson, like a sailboat race, I suppose. He's just come in and turned things in his favour. And it's been quite a subtle change as well, but it's happened. And the last thing, of course, that Robert needs is for Baloyi to stand back like this and try and pick punches and pick points. It doesn't suit Steve Robinson at all. It's a very physical fighter, Steve. And he needs to be involved in the action. And I think they've done a magnificent job getting Robinson in such fantastic form, both physically and mentally for this one. As I say, having lost his previous 2 fights, fairly emphatically, one must say, you know, just to get up for this, let alone make the weight for this, is quite incredible, really. And this is the kind of spell that Robinson was hoping for. But interestingly, it's actually Steve Robinson that breaks off the exchange there. Well, not a bad round this for Steve Robinson. I'm not quite sure if he's winning it. Done lots of good work, but Baloyi once again finishing the round pretty strongly. And I tell you, that could be a level round, couldn't it? Very tight, this one. So Brian Mitchell, then, what can he tell Cassius Baloyi that he hasn't already told him coming out for round 9 here? Steve Robinson, I thought, well, he did enough in the early part of that 8th round to take a share of the session, and I've got him still behind now, 78-77. I've got it awfully close, and well, you know, you will be forgiven for thinking this is shaping up in quite a different way. Don't worry about that. You've got the score lopsided one way or t'other. But I tell you what, I can't see a great deal between these two men, which might suggest that there's life in the old dog yet for Robinson. 31 years of age, of course, is not the kind of age where featherweights tend to thrive, but maybe he could be the exception to the rule. Who knows? Baloyi, I suspect, getting a lot tougher fight than he would have anticipated. His last fight ended on a first-round knockout. The one prior to that also ended on the first-round knockout. So all of a sudden, for the first time in a long time, having to go quite a distance, and this may go the full 12 yet. Well, Robinson once again now getting Baloyi where he wants him here on the ropes. Decent right then from Robinson. Very, very hard to score this match. As I say, I've only got 1 point in it with 8 rounds gone. And this one also another tight one. And they are so well matched, these two lads. Well, once again, I'm afraid I can't separate them in the 9th round, so 10 again, 10-10. Still that 1 point gap, though, maintained. Baloyi in the lead for me by 88 to 87. And I've made 4 of the previous 9 rounds level as we come out for this 10th of a scheduled 12. And remind you that Robinson looking to win his 3rd version of a world title here, from the WBB, WBO, and looking to become the WBU champion. And this, of course, is his 1st World Boxing Union title attempt. And he's had some lovely wins, of course, along the way. Robinson beat the likes of Stefan Hakoun, a very decent Frenchman. Had a draw with Brian Roach. A few losses as well. Lost to Drew Doherty and Alan Mackay in the early days of his career. But back to the action here in round 10. Robinson always going to be dangerous, looking for those body punches. You can't keep him off, really. Baloyi letting that initiative that he developed in the middle rounds, in fact, slip now. He was beginning to create a gap that didn't suit Robinson, but now Steve Robinson using his strength and commitment to try and keep it on, the pressure on here. Turn there and punch from Baloyi. Awfully hard to score. No man has the initiative for the whole round, that's the problem. The honours are even a lot of the time. Just a slight possibility that Baloyi has undone that good work done by Robinson earlier on in this round. And Cassius does tend to finish the rounds quite well. Well, Robinson now beginning to feel the heat here. Pressure is telling. Baloyi might just be stealing this 10th round, but it's awfully close once more. Well, 98 now, 96 on my card, 2 rounds to go.
Round 11.
So the penultimate round, then Di Gardner slaps Robinson out for work here. 2 rounds to go, and oh, it's been a fiercely contested match, and honours could still be pretty even. Other great wins for Robinson, of course, include Sean Murphy, Colin McMillan, Paul Hodkinson, Duke McKenzie, Pedro Ferradas, you know, great names. All played their part, of course, in the history of the British fight scene. But Steve Robinson looking to grab a bit of his bit of history for himself to become a triple world title holder. Duke McKenzie, of course, did it in the one federation, but at 3 different weights. Robinson looking to win his 3rd version of a featherweight championship. WBB firstly, WBO, then, of course, if successful here, WBU, but that's a big if. And now Robinson almost playing into the hands of Baloyi there by standing back. Needs to keep him under pressure, that's what he does best. Just wonder what weight making has done to Robinson's preparation. He really does look fantastic, doesn't he? And this is not the time for Steve Robinson to sit back and relax here. This, in fact, is a crucial point in the match for Steve Robinson. I've got him 2 behind, of course, coming into this one, which he needed, and the next one to stand any chance at all. And he's let Baloyi off the hook, I think. Although, having said that, he's coming on very strongly now. Very strongly here from Steve Robinson. A bit of a head there, just catching Baloyi in the face. What a spell that was for the Welshman. Big question now, of course, is can Baloyi come back and wipe out good work just done by Steve Robinson? I don't think he can, and that's felt like a short round as well.
12th and final round.
Into the final round then, I've got Baloyi just 1 point in front. 3 minutes to go to decide this one, and it is that close, I think. So, where on earth will this title end up? Will it stay around the waist of the champion, Cassius Baloyi, or will Steve Robinson become a triple world champion? I wonder. He certainly can't afford to lose this round. But they've been very well matched, these two. Well, Baloyi might just be stealing this one now. Good uppercut there from Cassius. But Robinson will not quit. He will not stop working, and working exceptionally hard again here, Steve Robinson. Past the halfway point in the final round. I've got a feeling that round 11 may have been a 2-minute round. And referee Mickey Van, I suspect our referee, has thoroughly enjoyed this one himself. And there's been some good spells for Robinson in this last round, but I just wonder whether he's been consistent enough. As once again he takes the fight to Baloyi. Good hard punches there from Cassius. So a gump should have gone there from Cassius Baloyi. It's washed and replaced, of course. And action continues with very little left on the clock. And very hard to separate them here in the final round. This has been a real tough call. Wow, what a finish. Fantastic stuff from these two men. And again, beautiful work. Well, the bell's not far away now. And there it is. Well, now we wait for the judges. I'm going to have to call the last round level.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 half-full rounds of boxing, we go to the judges' scorecards where we have a split decision.
I've got it 117, 116.
Eugene Grant scores the contest 115 to 112. Judge Dave Stone scores the contest 114 to 113. And Judge Eddie Marshall scores the contest 114 to 114. The winner, and still the WBU.
Well, that's interesting scores there. One judge went dead level.